This show is sponsored by PowerfulWomenUSA.com. Hey, everybody, I'm Jill Conway, and this is Secrets of Powerful Women, a show dedicated to celebrating and supporting strong and successful women and sharing their stories. I'm hoping that you will be inspired to pursue your own dreams, reclaim your voice, and discover your strengths. So my guest today is Laurice Duffy. Laurice is an empowerment life coach for women and author of Raising Hope, an inspirational story of hope and strength after loss. So Laurice, welcome to the show and thanks for coming on.
Oh, hi, Jill. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to have you. And so I know you focus on self-trust and self-love and self-acceptance, but it was a long journey to get to that point. So I jump in there because you have such a powerful story, and I think it will help so many women. So you didn't set out to be a life coach when you were little, right? But tell me about your story and how it kind of, unfolded.
Yeah. So I married the man of my dreams. We had a wonderful start to a life together. Probably 3 years in, a pipe had fallen on his head and he fractured his skull. And he healed and he recovered fully. And it was really scary. And at that time, shortly after that, we decided to start a family and went through 5 years of infertility. And finally had the family of our dreams. We got pregnant with triplet boys. And
Wow.
2.5 years later, had a fourth son, naturally. And I really thought we got all of our hard things out of the way. Like, okay, we made it through a fractured skull, 5 years of infertility and fighting our way for, to have the beautiful family. And now we're going to skate through, right? Well, that's not exactly how it happened. So 4 boys, my husband was athletic, healthy. He coached them in football, basketball, baseball. And he was just physically in great shape, very strong. And when my youngest son was 11 and my older boys were 14, he started having some peculiar symptoms, he felt like he was slurring his words, which I couldn't hear. And he would get these leg cramps, these awful leg cramps. I wasn't really a big worrier. And didn't really think anything of it and thought, we'll figure it out, it'll pass. Well, he started seeing doctors and probably for about 6 or 7 months, having tests done, all kinds of things. And everything was coming back great. Nothing was showing up as, what would be causing these weird symptoms. And we ended up, after so many appointments and so many tests, seeing a neurologist specialist. He took off of work. The appointment was at 10 o'clock. I'll never forget it. We had plans to have lunch after. We were both in such a good mood. Thought, finally, maybe we're going to get some answers and get this resolved.
Well, was his symptoms getting worse at this point, or they were the same, or?
Fairly the same. Yeah.
So you weren't worried. Right. You weren't concerned.
Not terribly worse. And again, I thought we had gotten all the scary stuff out of the way, right?
Sure.
All the testing. And so we go to the appointment and we see the doctor. We're actually kind of joking around with each other during the appointment. The mood was light. And the doctor did some testing and brought us into his office. And his first words I'll never forget. He said, "This is very serious," which caught my attention very quickly. And he proceeded to tell us that he believed Kevin had the beginning symptoms of ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. We knew about the ice bucket challenge, didn't really know what ALS meant. And my husband asked, and he said, "How much do you want to know?" And I have to tell you, Jill, I have never been so frightened in my entire life. And my husband said, we want to know. And he basically told us how it would progress and the things that would happen as a result of that progression, and that he basically would have about 3 to 5 years to live.
Wow.
Unbelievable. I mean, a life-changing moment.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
my world was rocked. I mean, I've never felt so powerless and helpless and like a victim of this cruel disease. And we went home and we tried to catch our breath.
Yeah.
Family and friends supported us. And we got a second opinion. Before we shared
Of
with the
course.
children, we got a second opinion. We didn't want to bring them into this grief until we were sure.
Right. Well,
And
you mentioned to me, you mentioned when we spoke, and I was so moved by your story that you said at some point you thought it was like Lyme's disease,
oh
right?
yeah, we
Like
did.
you were
Right.
like,
Yep.
right,
Right. So after the
right.
second opinion that believing it was ALS, we found out about Lyme disease.
Yeah.
And we went down that rabbit hole. That gave us hope. It gave us
Right.
hope. What we understood was that a lot of the symptoms were overlapped. They were a lot of the symptoms of Lyme disease were the same as the symptoms of ALS. We traveled an hour and a half to see a Lyme specialist. He's a Lyme literate medical doctor, one that came highly recommended. And he believed Kevin had Lyme disease. He believed Kevin was misdiagnosed. And we hung on to that. We hung on to that hope with every bit of our grit, and did not see the ALS specialists. We only saw the Lyme specialists. And after about a year and a half of that, and not just this doctor, we got other opinions from Lyme disease who also believed it was Lyme disease. And Kevin, we did everything, Jill. I mean, every possible thing you could think of, from diets to therapies to IV antibiotics, everything. I even would every morning take everything, because he had biomats he was lying on. He had so many things. I would put every single thing away, because all his medicine, everything, because I didn't want our house to feel like a sick house. I wanted to keep an energy in the home that was happy and joyful and really powerful and, healthy. And it was about a year and a half of doing that. And like I said, he had an IV antibiotic. And he started to decline. And it became very clear to me, the decline. And so much so that I had to have a very difficult conversation with him and ask him if we were searching for answers at that point or if we were running from the truth. Because I believed that we were running from the truth at that point. And that was hard. That was a really hard conversation to have, because all he wanted was hope. That was all he wanted. And I made an appointment with Columbia for yet another opinion. And I'll never forget, that doctor examined him and he said, I don't know if you have Lyme disease or not. What I know for sure is that you have ALS. And that's when I surrendered. That's when I really accepted what was and realized that I was working so hard at grasping control where I had none, that I lost focus of where my power was, where I did have control, where I did have choice. And we came home and we sat the boys down to take them off of this roller coaster that I feel like we innocently but irresponsibly sort of placed them on. And
I don't think you knew better. You did what your best, you know?
yeah, we did. And you know what?
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out, because it's very
Yeah.
easy to know what you know and look back
Right.
and wish you
And
did
kick
know.
yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah. And say, I should have done better. I should have, but you
we
did your
know what we
best.
know. And,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
so
Mm.
we shared everything with the boys,
Mm.
honestly. Um, And no one said a word. The room was
Mm.
completely quiet. And then one of them said, "Mom, are you okay?" And I said yes. And for probably 2 or 3 days, ran that question through my
Mm.
mind because I couldn't for the life of me understand why I was being asked if I was okay when their father
Right.
was, given a terminal illness and was going to lose his life in the short future. And Jill, what I realized was that my kids were watching their father decline. They probably, before I did, accepted that they were most likely going to lose him. And at that point, they wanted to make sure
Mm.
that they weren't going to lose their mom too. The mom that I always was, right? The mom, or was I going to be someone who fell into a complete depression, maybe started drinking, who knows, right? Was I still going to be the mom that they always knew? And that sentence, it's like 3 letters took my power away, and then um, 5 words, or 4 words actually, gave me my power back. And it's so interesting to me because it reminded me that I had the power to choose how this was going to go. And I couldn't save my husband, right? Which is what we were trying to do for a few years there, and scrambling and running after anything that gave us hope. But what I realized was I couldn't change that. And what I needed to do was start looking at the choices that I did have. And, something I thought of was, wow, who are you going to be? Who are you going to be in this situation? You were a great mom, sister, wife, aunt, friend when your life was easy and beautiful. Who are you going to be now? Who are you going to be now that life is at rock bottom? Because you get to choose. That was something I got to choose. And what kind of mom was I going to be? How was I going to lead my family through this, including my husband? And I realized that I got to choose. And this is how I started gaining my power back, with asking myself what my choices were, rather than being so locked in to his terminal illness and in a place where I had no control. And
That's a
we,
powerful transformational moment, I think, for
yeah,
you to for you to ask it. When you told me that and you said, then you started to ask yourself like every day,
every day,
who do I want to be today?
who
Or
do I want to be today?
yeah,
Every
yeah.
day is met with intention. Who do I want
Mm.
to be today? And guess what? Anybody who feels like a victim or feels angry, no judgment. I get
Yeah.
it. I see
Yeah.
you. But we get to
Mm.
choose. And it was rare that that's who I wanted to be. And a victim or somebody who was angry. I wanted to be the strength and stability and security for my children. And I wanted to be loving and patient and compassion with my husband. I realized that there was a real opportunity here, a real opportunity to really be the example of love and patience and kindness, and that life is not always perfect, but our power lies in who we're going to be and the choices we make amidst those tragic circumstances, or uncomfortable circumstances or difficult circumstances. And um, this was my focus. And I also decided that I was even going to have a sense of humor when appropriate, and these were all choices. And this is how we navigated the last year of his life. And
Mm.
um, I thought about who I wanted to be for my children, who I wanted to be for my husband, but Jill, I also thought about who I needed to be for me. And I went out with girlfriends. I went out to restaurants, had wine, in some cases, laughed, right? Didn't feel guilty about it at all because I knew that I needed to refill me to be able to be everything that I wanted to be with intention for my family. And that was part of it. And
Did anyone try to make you feel guilty, do you think, for
no,
doing that? Okay,
no,
that's
no.
good because some people do, right? They look at you like people
Yeah.
differently, like,
There
yeah.
was one person whom I was told said she shouldn't be here right now. She should be at home.
Wow.
And fortunately, I wasn't even
Yeah.
bothered by it at all.
Yeah.
You know, Glennon Doyle says, don't ask people for directions to places that they've never been.
They've never
And
exactly.
I
Exactly.
certainly wasn't. And
Yeah.
I knew what I needed for me. And I knew what I needed for me to be able to be the me that I needed and wanted to be for my family. And I also thought about my future self and what she needed. And that was really important and something that I really want people to think about that are going through a difficult time. Because I knew when Kevin passed, I needed or wanted both really to have no regret and have peace. And knowing that I wanted to give that to my future self created even more intention about who I was being and helped me stay true to that intention. And I'm so grateful to her right now. I am so grateful to my past self right now for giving me that, because I do. I have such tremendous peace that I really did the best job that I could. And let me tell you, it's not perfect. So don't, please understand, it is not perfect. And part of doing a good job means feeling your feelings. Part of being courageous and brave in a situation that is so difficult and that you're managing it is being brave enough to feel your feelings. And it allows the people around you to feel theirs. It gives them permission to feel their feelings. And I think that that's really important. So in no way do I want to send the message that being intentional means we're just strong and we power through it. No way. No way. What it means is that we take the help from those who are offering it. And we cry when we need to cry. We allow our feelings and we let them run through us, and then we choose again, right? Then we choose again. Okay, sadness was here, I listened to it, I felt it, and now we're gonna make our next choice.
Do you think? Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just said where do we go from here? What's the next choice? And that's
well, yeah. Do you think that's probably though one of the hardest things to do though is allowing yourself to feel those feelings? I don't think most people want to.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly understand that. They're hard feelings. And I believe, Jill, that we can try to outrun them by shopping a lot or drinking a lot or overworking and you know what? They're there waiting for us. Those feelings are right there. They're just waiting for us to be present with them. And the only way out is through. The only way to move through those hard feelings is to feel them and be with them and allow them. They say what we resist persists, and I really believe that. So I think the best thing that we can do is allow them in and feel them. It doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean you're here forever or for weeks. You get to decide that. But sit with them, be with them. I read somewhere that our feelings are like when you come home, if you have a puppy or whoever's listening, if you have a puppy, think about when you come home after a long day of being away. and your dog is so excited. It's wagging its tail and it's just moving around and it's so excited, maybe jumping on you. It's
So
just like,
happy.
hello, 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 I'm here. Acknowledge me, right? And
Mm.
what happens when we just put our bags down and we kneel down and we pet the dog and we say, hi, how are you? And we acknowledge the dog and we pay attention to the dog.
Mm.
The dog goes and lies down, right? And and it calms down and it lies down and it's at ease. And it's the same thing with our feelings. When we validate and acknowledge, and when we just sit for some moments with our feelings, they calm down. It's the same kind of thing. So don't be afraid of your feelings. It's okay. It's okay. They're there to for you to just be with, to just allow, and they will flow away, and they will come back again. Listen, there are things. We're 7 years since Kevin passed away, and I have moments that cause me emotion that I'm not always expecting. But that only means that there was still some there that, needed to be heard or needed to be understood and needed to be felt. And that's okay. That's bravery. That's courage. So don't ever deny your feelings or feel like you have to push through, because strength means you don't cry.
Mm.
Strength means you don't feel your feelings. You just act like the stable rock for everybody.
Mm.
No, 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 no. No, it's just part of it. It's just part of the strength is allowing yourself the ability to do that, and to feel those feelings.
How did you navigate that, you know, the rest of Kevin's life with dealing with your 4 sons and their emotions too, and, allowing them to experience their feelings and still trying to, like you said, be everything, and then still grieve yourself as a wife?
Yeah.
Mm.
So number one, allowing people to help. And I think that's a gift for you. That's a gift for your family. And it's a gift for the people who are trying to help, because
Yeah.
they don't know what to do. And
Right.
they want a job. They want something where they feel like they are affecting this
Mm.
situation, even in the smallest way, um, with help and love and kindness. And I did. I mean, people brought us dinner for a year and a half. We had dinners brought to our home. I had a
Wow.
girlfriend who went to every doctor's appointment with us to just be ears that were able to. People took my kids for rides, to games and to anywhere. I mean, one girlfriend took my kids the night before they were getting their license. I remember I have triplets, so they were getting their license while Kevin was sick. Took them to everybody,
Mm.
and who was asking to help, as long as I had some man call me. They do a turkey trot and raise money. And he had said, this year we'd really like to do it for your family. And he said, will you accept? And I said, well, if there's no one that needs it more than we do, I don't want. And he said, no, so, so graciously accept.
Mm.
And, just a little note about that, Jill. Um, I thought this was a quiet little turkey trot in town that I never even knew about, right? That
Mm.
people who like to do turkey trots, or, like to run
Yeah.
the 5K would go to,
Mm.
and they would donate as they always do. And he said, one year we even raised $7,000, and we would love to hopefully raise that again and give it to your family. And I accepted, and I didn't really say anything to anybody about it, and the kids particularly. And one day we were driving home, and I see this huge sign that says turkey trot with a big turkey on it, and it says for the Duffy family. And my kids say, "Hey, did you guys see that sign?" And I was like, "Oh, what did I do?" And that was my thought. What did I do?
Mm.
Oh my gosh, why did I say yes to this? Well, I just want to share this because I think it's important for people to hear, because I think it's hard for people to accept.
To accept, sure.
Out, right? So now all people are calling me, we're going to the turkey trot, right? So all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I think I have to go to the turkey trot, right? I'm like, oh my God. So Kevin is bedridden now. So the kids and I go to the turkey trot, and we pull up to the church. And Jill, it was such a moment. There were over 600 people at this turkey trot. And I realized we walked into just a flood of love.
Oh, wow.
And what I realized is that had I declined this, had I realized how big it was and how, or that we were going to have to be there and friends of ours were going to be there and all of that, I might have declined. And I realized that I would have missed out and taken away something from my children that reminds them that even when you're going through something really hard, or rather when you're going through something really hard, people are there. And I felt like they would have missed the opportunity to walk into this church and hear 600 voices saying, we got you. We got you. And I am just so grateful that I said yes and didn't realize, how big it was going to be, and that they got to see what people, how much love are in people's hearts and how much kindness and how much support, and that hopefully they will pay that forward. And because it's just was such a moment, and it was a beautiful day. We took videos and pictures and brought them back to Kevin. And I told you in the beginning that, they had said that one year they even raised $7,000 and they hoped they could do that for us. Well, they raised over $50,000 for our family. And it was unbelievable experience. And we put that into an account for the boys' college funds, because I really felt like that was a great place for people to feel really good about what they donated and how they helped our family. And 3 of them have graduated, and that money was certainly a big help. And one has 1 more year. So take the help, accept it, be willing. It's a gift for you, but it's also a gift for the people who are doing it. It really is. And
that's good advice, I think, for anyone listening who's, going through a very tough time, like you said, and needs your advice, is looking and listening in to hear that advice. Like, how do I get through it?
Yeah.
And I mean,
I think that something that I'm, sort of a mantra is, our circumstances don't create our destiny, but our choices do. And it'll take a moment. Like, don't rush it, because when you get news like that, your world is rocked. But after the dust settles, after you can gain some strength, really asking yourself, what are my choices in this situation? And choosing doesn't mean that you change the unchangeable. We're not going to change the unchangeable. But it simply means that you stay open and committed to accessing your power from the selection of options that still remain available. And I think that that's really important to remember. So, really just thinking about, well, what can I choose? Because there's so much power in choice. And I think we really can get stuck, and it's understandable. Again, please let me validate anybody who has felt this way. It is really understandable to just get stuck in the misery of what's happening and really feel like a victim of it. I get it. But at the end of the day, our power is in, and our destiny is created by asking the question of, not why, but what's next? What can I choose? What are my choices? And I think when we ask those questions, it activates a part of our brain that open the door to discovery.
All right, Laurice, I'm going to stop you there because we're going to take a very quick break. Laurice Duffy coming up more with her after the commercial break. And you're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. And when we come back, we're going to talk about at what point you became the life coach and that whole process and what you're teaching and helping women, guiding women to work through now. But so that's coming up next. If you love what you're listening to, please follow or subscribe to Secrets on whatever podcast platform you have, and never miss an episode. Help me get the word out. Share this with your friends because it's really good. We'll be back. Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Conway. Thank you so much for listening and loving the Secrets of Powerful Women podcast. If you could, please like and subscribe to my channel on Spotify or iHeart, Apple Music, Audible, and YouTube. It will help me expand the show and bring you more incredible women who are inspiring you with their stories. I am so grateful for your support, so thank you. Keep listening and share this with your friends. We're changing the world. Welcome back. You're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. Laurice Duffy is with me. She's a life coach and author of a book called Raising Hope. You also started, I want to talk about a Kindness Matters scholarship at your local high school. So I do want to talk about that. But first, what we kind of talked a little bit about in the other half, that through all of this, you were telling me your husband extremely sick, and you decided that you needed to do something. You needed to plan for your future. Mm-hmm. So, and that's when did life coaching came about? Like, how did that come about?
So yes, I had graduated college many years before this with a psychology degree, and I didn't want to go on for my master's, Jill. And yet I knew really to become a therapist, that's what I had to do. Mm-hmm. And I started a small business that didn't fulfill me. I got married, and like I said, we had a lot of fertility issues, and now we have like almost instantly a family of 6. So I have this small business, and I am really feeling strongly about wanting to pursue, what I really feel in my heart I was meant to do, my purpose. And I remember talking to a girlfriend, and she said, "Oh, is everything okay? You sound off." And I said, I feel like I married the man of my dreams. He survived a pipe falling on his head. We had 5 years of infertility, and this is before Kevin was sick. And I now have the family of my dreams. I have healthy children, triplets, and they're healthy. And I'm so blessed. I live in a wonderful community, and I want more. And I feel really guilty about that. Like, I grew up where, the saying was, be happy with what you have, or, it'll get taken away, or, all that nonsense, right? Yeah. And I felt guilty. I felt guilty for feeling like that. I felt guilty. I felt like I wasn't appreciating all that had been given to me because I wanted more. And I just want to be the voice to say, Glennon Doyle again says, what, maybe women feel like they want more because they're meant for more. And I want everyone to just be able to, without guilt or shame, feel that feeling of wanting more, because it is available. It is, absolutely your birthright to follow it. And you're never asking for too much by following your dreams or allowing your dreams or recognizing your dreams. So
because ambitious women, I think in our culture often, there's a stereotype that they're too ambitious, that they're selfish, all these things, just because they want more out of their life. They want to fulfill something in their life, and it's okay to pursue your goals.
Absolutely.
So to think of you, not of yourself so much as when you make yourself stronger. And I think we said that, and I always use the analogy on the show, it's kind of like the in the airplane, and you put the mask on yourself in order, they always tell you, put the mask on yourself so you can help everyone else first, so I think that's important, and that's something that we need to teach each other as women. Like, it's okay to take care of yourself.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We have been given a message from society that women are to prioritize everyone else and meet everyone else's needs before their own. And I say, to all my clients, you need to be in the column of people you're taking care of. I'm not saying don't take care of your kids or your husband, but you need to be equally taking care of you. And guess what? Martha Beck, this was so profound. She said, our children will not treat themselves as good as we've treated them, treated them as mothers. They will treat themselves as well as we've treated ourselves, as well as they've watched us treat ourselves. And I think that that is such a strong message. If I could scream it from a rooftop to every young mom out there, I would, because I think it's really important for them to hear. It's permission. This is, this is the recipe, that we want to be following. So anyway, I just sat with those feelings. We didn't resolve them. There was nothing really to resolve. I think because I said it out loud, it felt real, right? And it was like,
It always does. Yeah.
It's just now this is a real thing. And I said to her, shouldn't I be skipping around the house like with all these great things that I have? Because I'm not. And that felt bad, Jill. It really felt bad. And it was probably about 2 years after that Kevin got the diagnosis. And when that doctor said, you'll have about 3 to 5 years to live, I remember thinking to myself shortly after that, well, wow, 3 to 5 years, I won't be a wife and my kids will be off to college. Who am I? I define myself as a mom and a wife. Yes, I had this small business. It didn't fulfill me. It just gave us a little freedom because we had the extra income, right? And it gave me the ability to stay home with my kids.
Sure.
And so this was during the time that we were following the Lyme disease path. And I decided, I've never made a decision this fast. I decided to get my certification as a life coach. And let me just tell you, I had a sick husband. I had 4 children. I ran a business and I took care of everything in the home. It was the worst time of my life to commit to doing this program that in some cases I would be gone 10 hours for 3 days in a row. But I did. I knew that I needed to. I knew I needed something that filled me up, that was mine. And I realized that we are pushed by pain or pulled by pleasure. And I realized after that I would have never done this if this whole thing, didn't happen. But I was pushed by the pain of realizing that this could have been, again, we thought it was Lyme disease, so I wasn't positive, but I felt a little better that he was going to be okay. But the pain of what had happened and what I believed for some time, which was that it was ALS, pushed me to find or to go after my dreams. And listen, it was really a terrible time, but you know what? It worked. We made it work. And I think that we have all these reasons in our brains why something can't work. And oh my God, like look at all that I'm doing. I remember coming home from being at one of these 10-hour sessions, and my son, who was in, I think, 7th grade, comes barreling in the door with a basketball and a backpack. He says, "Mom, you're not going to believe it, but nobody was here to take me. It's only down the road, but to take me to my basketball game." So I went in the shed and I looked for a bike and I found one and I put my backpack on and I held my basketball and I held one hand. I held the handle. He says, and I realized it had a flat tire. He said, but I made it. And then I just walked it home in the dark again and I looked at him. And because I could have, right? I could have went down the path of, oh my God, I'm being so
such
selfish.
a terrible mother. Yeah.
And instead I looked at him, and Jill, sometimes you just don't know where things come from. And I said, you are resilient. And he said, I know. And he felt great about himself because he figured it out. And I
Yeah.
felt great about myself that I didn't go down that guilt path, but
Mm.
revealed to him how amazing that was and saw how good he felt. And it was really a moment, you know? And I got my certification, and it was July of 2017. Kevin cheered me on the whole way. He was so proud of me. He was so proud of me. And he died that following April. He passed away. Yeah, he passed away. And we had the boys all had the day that he died, he was in hospice at that point because we had a big snowstorm, probably about a month prior, and we have a generator, but there was no gas for it. And the snowstorm was unbelievable. And my husband was no longer able to speak. ALS took that ability away from him too. And every time I walked in the room, he air drew gas because he had a machine that helped him breathe. And he knew that if there was no gas for the generator, if the electricity went out, for a length of time, he wasn't going to have access to this machine. And my brother-in-law ended up somehow getting gas. I mean, it was a state of emergency. You weren't even allowed on the road. Somehow we had angels for sure that day or that night. But it was at that time we realized it was safer for him to be in hospice. And I stayed with him the night that he passed away. We knew that it was going to be happening very soon. And I got to spend those last, hours with him, just him and I. The kids had all said goodbye. And the next morning, I came home around 3:00 in the morning, and the boys all had a baseball game that day. And I sat with them each individually and said to them that they have a baseball game and would they like to play in it. And two of them were an immediate yes, and two were really unsure. And when I talked to them, I said, this is about you. Everybody gets to make their own decision about today, and no one's decision is right or wrong. It is what feels right for you. And my one son said, well, gee, Mom, don't you think people are going to find it weird that we were to play baseball on the day that our father passed away? And I said, well, it depends how you look at it. I said, your dad and you boys spent so many days playing baseball together and so many evenings where he coached your games. And what a beautiful way to honor his death by playing baseball on today. And he'll have the best, I said, he'll have the best seat in the house, and he'll get to show all the angels, you guys, and what you love to do together. And it was so interesting because they played. And it was the only game ever that they played on a field at the middle school where their youngest brother went to that middle school, was playing on the opposite field. So all four kids were playing at the same school. They were playing the town that Kevin grew up in, where he went to high school. That's the town that they were playing. Wow. The athletic director did a moment of silence and shared really kind words about Kevin before the game. It was so sunny. They won the game, and it was so beautiful. And the boys were so happy that they played. They were so happy that they played. So it was really it was the best that it could be. It really, we made the best that it could be because of choice. Because we chose to. We could have all stayed home and, been miserable. And again, I get it for anybody out there but we do get to choose.
Oh my gosh. Woof, woof. You're a very strong woman for
Awesome.
sure. And you're seems like you're raising incredible boys. So,
Thank you.
I'm a mess over here, but listening to your story. So let's talk about you obviously take everything you've been through and you use it now in your business. So who do you work with predominantly? Women and men, or mostly women? And how do
Yeah,
you help
mostly
them?
women. Mostly women. I'm a women's empowerment coach. I have seen men,
Mm,
but
mhm,
primarily women. Um, and I am, obviously women come to me for a variety of reasons and different things going on. I love my story because I feel like I'm not someone who skated through life with ease. And I love that I can be the example of possibility, that I can, maybe my story and how I've overcome it can give some hope, and also allows me to really, hold somebody's hand and walk through their journey with them, as support of somebody who truly understands from a place of, I've been there, I've been through some hard stuff. And even if it's not a husband dying, but it's some other circumstance, even small, in comparison, right? Because they're not small to that person. It's a big thing going on in their life. And it needs to be treated, um, you know, that way, and as important. And but what I believe is that a lot of times, um, women that come to me, we need to start at the foundation. I think a lot of times when we're not talking about things as tragic as death, um, a lot of times what happens is sort of a detail of something else. And what I like to do is start with my clients. I like to really talk about how they feel about themselves, their self worth, because we'll never generate the results that will only generate the results that we believe we deserve, right? I think I shared with you that, um, you know, we can't outperform our self image. So it's really important to start with, um, how they feel about themselves and what were the messages that they brought into their adulthood. Um, no judgment on parents or caretakers or anything, but a lot of times those messages create beliefs in ourselves, about who we are and what we're capable of, and
our worthiness and our
yeah,
worthiness.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's just a great starting point because we can't build on sand, right? So we want to
Right.
really get to, the understanding of what's happening and what beliefs that we have, what beliefs that we're holding on to that are sort of in our subconscious, right? Because about 97% of our thoughts and beliefs are in our subconscious. We can dig them out, but,
Mm,
there's only about 3 to 5% that are in our conscious mind. So a lot of times we're being guided by behaviors that
mm,
we don't even aren't even aware necessarily of
mhm.
why. So
Right.
getting underneath and sort of untangling those kinds of things and really practicing, self choosing, right? And,
Mhm,
a lot of times people pleasing, right, it can be part of it because we want to make sure people like us, and and then what happens is we're living a life for other people and we're
mhm,
not taking care of us. We're not making us important. So how would we
mm,
ever feel worthy? How would we
mm,
ever feel confident when we're not prioritizing ourselves and, setting the standard? I always say, how we love ourselves or our relationship with ourselves sets the standard for all other relationships in our life.
mm.
That's where it starts. Um,
I,
so
I let me just say this, Laurice, because I think I admire um you so much because part of your story, and I think it's so important. You you had while you were going through the depths of hell, right? You had the forethought to say, to think the future. What's the future going to look like? My husband's not going to be here. So now what? So
Mhm.
while you were going through all that, you were like, somehow something in the universe said, like, you have to figure this out, what this is going to look like now, which I think some women think, like, I can't do that now. That's
Mhm.
selfish if I do that now. And then we condemn ourselves for every thought we have, like when we say, like, I got to figure this out, you know. And I think you were amazing that you were saying, like, I I I have to make a life for me and my kids after that time comes,
Mm. Yeah.
and I think that's a strong message. I
Well,
think that's a strong message.
that I really, what I didn't realize going for my certification in life coaching were the tools it was going to give me to be
Mm,
the leader that I needed to be for my family.
mm,
That I didn't realize. And it's very interesting because about
mm,
6 months after Kevin passed, my parents um, said to me, "Oh, Laurice, we're having such a hard time with Kevin's death. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Why would God take him away?" And I said, "You know
mm,
what's interesting that you just said that?" I said, "Because my God didn't take him away. My God set me on a journey to go back to school and get my life coaching certification because
mm,
he or she knew that it was going to give me the tools that I needed to
mm.
be the best version of myself in this very difficult situation."
Right.
And that's what I believe. And beliefs are interesting and
Mm,
they're important.
mhm,
And I think that
mhm,
we don't realize how many beliefs we're holding on to that limit us and hold us back and don't widen our lens to see things differently. And I think happiness is on the other side of how we think about things and what
mm,
we believe. And beliefs are just a thought that you keep on thinking, consciously or
mhm,
not, until it's passed down to your subconscious and becomes part of your, belief system. And again, then
mm,
we're just it's the fuel that guides us through different behaviors and decisions and thoughts. And I think we really have to take a big look at what are those beliefs and how
mm,
true are they?
mm,
How true are they really?
mm,
And once we can practice and changing those beliefs and understanding that thoughts are just options. They're not, it does just because you think it doesn't mean I'm stuck with it. It's an option. I always say
mm,
delete edit. If it's not supporting who you're trying to become or what
mhm,
you're trying to move towards, delete edit and
mhm,
think about another thought that feels better. And this is a practice and it's hard and it's uncomfortable, but it's repetition will create a different mindset. It will help you to believe different things that support the joy and the happiness that you want to feel. I remember driving in a car, and there was a guy in front of us, and there was a lot of traffic, and he was kind of being a little antagonistic, and um, I don't know, I think I was singing or I don't know what I was doing. I was a passenger, and my girlfriend said, "Isn't this annoying you?" And I said, "Nope, not giving
yeah.
you that power, not even kind of. Like, I'm just not going to let it." It's a choice, right? And
Mm,
listen, don't get me wrong. I have my days that I'm like, whew,
yeah.
I react, right?
Well,
When
you're
I
human, and we all do, right?
do
That's
it,
the thing.
but guess
Yeah.
what? I catch myself a little quicker. And I
Right.
catch myself a little quicker. And it's only because of a commitment to practicing it and really being intentional about it that it changes. And then what we realize is that all of a sudden we're in traffic and we're not bothered because we
Mm,
practiced it so much.
mm,
So we're not just like automatically, reacting when we want to respond or when we
mm,
don't want to react and we want to take our power back. And I always say, if we are going to be affected by every driver that cuts us off, every
mm,
person that is unkind, every situation that doesn't go our way, then we are waking up literally with a
mm,
tray in our hand filled with our power, and we are walking out our front door going, here's some for you, some for you, some for you, some for you. Because I have no choice in how my day goes. All of you do. No way. No way.
So what's the most common issue that your clients have, would you say? Like, is it self-doubt? Is it not believing in themselves? Is it, I know we've spoken about how important, trusting yourself and your intuition is. And that's so big. And no one talks about that enough, I don't think, right? But because you trusted your instincts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, to propel you forward in the darkest of times. So what's the most common thing that women struggle with? And what can you give advice can you give to them?
So I will answer that, but I want to just touch on something that you just said, because I think it's important for people to be really clear. This wasn't he got a diagnosis and I became this woman that was full of intention and had a focus and had all this strength. Not even kind of. I was in my pajamas probably for the first week. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear. This was
right over the course of years. Yeah,
exactly. This was a process. So yeah, that's really important, because I don't ever want anybody to wonder, why can't I be like that? No, this is hard. This is hard stuff.
But maybe those people can get there.
People can. Exactly.
Right?
They can. Right. And I want to be that guide. I want to be that person, like, grab my hand, we'll go on this journey because you can.
Because you're stuck.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would say the biggest thing is that I'm not enough feeling. Stuck in sort of a paradigm of, how things are, and not being able to do the uncomfortable thing and really go after their dreams or be the versions of themselves that they want to be, because of fear of the unknown, fear of what kind of reaction they might get from people, right? Boundaries. And, my gosh, wanting to just wanting more, but being afraid to be somebody other than who they have been. And sometimes being small and being kind and being a pleaser is safe, right? I get it. I mean, gosh,
I think we all do. Yeah. I mean, that's right. We all you go through a phase in your life, I think many women do, where you just want to make people happy, right? Especially when you have kids, especially when you're married, but even when you're not, you want to make your friends happy. You want to make your parents happy. You want to make your kids happy. You want to make everyone happy. And then are you happy about it? Are you happy about it?
Yes.
And that's the power. Yeah.
Right. And you can have both. Because, I always say, we're not reacting, we're responding. We're not aggressive, we're assertive, right? There's a big difference. And when you can start practicing having a different response instead of reacting, and when you change who you are, we can never change other people, but when you change who you are, relationships change, right? And people respond differently. I always say, when you love yourself and when you treat yourself well,
right,
you are the example for other people of how you're to be treated. And for yourself, there's red flags come up quicker, because you can recognize, if I'm in my head all day saying, you suck, Laurice, you'll never get anywhere, you can't do that, you're not smart enough, whatever, you don't deserve that. Well, then I'm with a friend or on a date or whatever it is, and they're not treating me well, or they're kind of talking to me that way. Well, that sounds familiar, right? Yeah, that's how I talk to myself. That's normal. So
Oh,
it's
and you
acceptable.
acceptable.
But when
Right.
we don't talk to ourselves like that, when
Mhm.
we are loving and kind and treat ourselves the way we expect to be treated and we set the standard, well, now
Mm,
somebody else, is being unkind or saying something, we're going to catch it in a minute because that is not
mm,
what we're used to. That isn't how we treat ourselves. Listen, we're with ourselves the most. So
mm,
how we treat ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, that inner dialogue is so important because you are not
mm.
just thinking, you are listening. You
Mm.
are listening to that on repeat.
Oh
So
my
we
goodness,
need to
so
break.
good.
We need to
Yeah,
break that. We
yeah.
need to. So um,
Mm,
all kinds of things like that, which help women feel. It doesn't make them um, bold, rude. And I think that
mm,
sometimes you can have it all. You can be someone who is really confident, who feels secure in her worth and her enoughness, and be the kindest
mm,
person in the room. Be the kindest person in the
mm.
room. And
Oh,
something, go ahead.
no, I want to, we only have a few minutes left, but I want, since you mentioned kind and I want to talk before we go about your kindness scholarship.
Yes,
So,
yes, yes. So having 4 kids and being to a lot of award ceremonies and there being so many awards for best essay, highest
mhm,
grade point average and athletic ability, and so much talk about bullying and anti-bullying, which is wonderful.
mm,
And all those things I just mentioned are absolutely, fabulous and need to be celebrated.
mhm,
But what I realized, I believe that we always should move toward the thing that we want, rather than talk about what we don't want. So always, talking about things in the forward motion.
mm,
So I realized that nobody talks about kindness, and kindness matters too.
mm.
And kids should be rewarded for it. So I started a nonprofit foundation called the Kindness Matters Mission, where we give $1,000 scholarship. We're in 2 high schools right now.
That's great.
This is our 5th year, and they are given $1,000 scholarship simply for being kind. And
Mm,
when I first brought this up to the guidance team, they said, okay, so do you want the kids to write an essay about why? I said, no, not at all. I said, I want every teacher, if they feel that they have someone in mind, to nominate any kid. It could be a kid they had in their freshman class that they've been watching,
mhm.
throughout high school. I want them to write a few sentences as to why they're nominating them. And I want guidance to then come up with, because these are the people that are all around these kids, right?
Sure,
And
sure.
guidance
Yeah.
will come up with the winner, and that's it. The kids don't have to, it's not about how they write, it's not about what they write, it's simply about kindness. And I
Mm,
think that sending the message to our youth that kindness matters too is super, super important. And it's part of my husband's legacy, I guess you could say, because he was such a kind man and he believed in kindness so much. And I think it's important. I think it's really important, that we recognize the power that being kind has,
mm.
and it's important.
Oh, I love it. Your story is important. Your work is important. And I'm so thankful and honored that you came on to talk about it and share it.
Thanks.
You want to, we're about 30 seconds, but your website is a
Yep.
mindfuljourneyld.com, right? All right.
Yes.
So if anyone would like to work with Laurice, contact her, and, peel back the layers, right? What's blocking you,
Absolutely.
move
And I,
forward.
I do one, the first session is complimentary, just
Oh,
so
nice.
people can, I really don't think anybody should invest money in something that they don't know if they feel safe, if they feel
Right.
comfortable, if they really can feel like the person they're working with is the right match.
Hmm.
So I think that that's just a safe way to say, let me just dip my toe in and see with no.
Mm.
So
Oh, how nice. How nice. All right. So I'll have your contact information in the comment section of the show. But I think that's it for us. So I want to say a big thank you, Laurice, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Jill. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
what a story. What a story. Incredible story. So I'm Jill Conway. Yes. And thank you for listening to the show, celebrating incredible women like Laurice. I hope you're inspired to pursue your own goals, believe in yourself, and dream bigger. Your voice matters and your story can help others. I hope you join me next time. Share this podcast with a friend.